Getting more out of your one-to-ones. So last week we talked about the VCP process, the visibility, credibility, profitability, and why we need to do that. One-to-ones is how we increase this. So did anybody change who they did a one-to-one with based off of the VCP that was on the back of the sheet last week? Did anybody do a one-to-one with somebody on there and feel like you moved that relationship forward?
Yep.
Good. Let's keep that up, and hopefully we get all of us into a profitability relationship with everyone by the end of the year. So getting more out of your one-to-ones. This is something I hear a lot about. So first off, what is a one-to-one? Basically, exactly what it says. Two people sitting down, talking to each other, getting to know each other for about 30 to 60 minutes. A 5-minute high five as you're walking by doesn't really count as a one-to-one. Yeah. But a one-to-one technically is not 3 people, it's not 5 people, it's not a whole group of people. It's really one-to-one. But, that's not supposed to be there. So, however, the intent of a one-to-one is to have a small meeting with someone so you can get to know them and understand their business. But we all know that sometimes when you get together with somebody else and you got 3 people in there, you're going to learn a lot more, you're going to talk differently, you're going to understand things differently. So don't look at a one-to-one as it has to be one person to one person, because sometimes 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals more than 3. So we can play off each other. A good example is the real estate lending area. I mean, you guys work together a whole lot, so you can get together and you all feed in that same area. Another thing that I've learned from doing one-to-ones is Reese and Mark and I, we all look for people at the same point of starting their business. New people starting to build out, they need to move something, they haven't got their business set up yet, so they're looking for signs, moving, and security systems. So that's a good thing for me to get together with those guys and 3 of us to get together and kind of feed off of each other. And who do we know? It may not be a referral, it may be a lead, but we're all looking for the same people. So look for people in similar business models or in power teams. And then how do you get the most out of it? You don't just walk into it and, hey, let's have a one-to-one, show up, don't really know what you're going to talk about. After you've done several and you get to know people, it's a lot easier and you don't really have to plan so much. But early on, you really need to do some planning and have a goals for what you want to get out of it. So this comes out of the B&I blog, is what's key in conducting an effective one-to-one is that it be structured and social. It needs to be the right combination of both a social discussion along with enough business professional information to allow both parties to get to know one another better. So you're getting to know the person's business and you're getting to know them as a person, because you want to understand their business so you can help them, but you also want to trust them as a person. So there's some good ways to do this. There's the gains exchange, which we've all seen, we've all heard about. I think this is a great thing to use if you're just meeting the person and you're just getting to understand them. If it's somebody new that I've never had a one-to-one with, I'll take it with me just in case we don't hit a rapport. I've got this gains exchange that I can fall back on and ask them what to fill out that form and get some ideas of who they are. And if we have a rapport, I'll ask you those questions anyway. You just won't know I'm filling out this form in my head. So the gains exchange is a great way to kind of start to get to know people. I recommend it for early on one-to-ones and early on in that relationship. And then make sure you keep a little bit of business and a little bit of social. Ask them about other things than business. Have a goal in mind for your meeting. Do you want to get to know them as a person? Do you want to get to know them, their business? Do you want to know certain parts of their business? Are they in a business where they have some particular knowledge that I might need? So for instance, I had a one-to-one with Keith last year when I was thinking about relieving an employee of his duties. I'd never done it before, so I'm thinking about this. What can I do? Who can I talk to? Who can offer me advice? Wait, I know somebody in the fast food industry. So I called Keith. Yeah. So I called Keith and said, hey, here's what I got going on. Can we sit down and talk about this? So we sat down for an hour. He gave me a lot of great information that I never would have thought about. Consequently, I've used that more than once since we had that conversation. So, had nothing to do with selling business to each other, but I definitely had a goal in mind, and I definitely got a whole lot out of it. So, plan ahead. Prior planning prevents poor performance. I know we heard this from somebody else's talk a while ago, but it's a great way to just plan ahead. If you don't plan ahead, we've all had that one-to-one where you show up and it's like pulling teeth to get a conversation. You have a one-to-one with Brad, all you got to do is show up and he's going to talk the entire time. But not everybody's like that. So plan ahead, have some questions in mind. Well, gee, Matt, what should I ask about? Thanks for asking. So I've got 3 different categories here. We've got first our business, and then some B&I related questions. I have had a lot of B&I related discussions in the last year. And then personal. So some ideas. Go over the gains exchange. How'd you get into this business? What do you like about it? What's your biggest success and failure? That's a great one to really learn about the people, and if you're starting a business, to get some advice as to what you might do wrong or what you can do better in your business. How is your business structured? What's a good referral for you? This is probably the single best question you can ask to help referrals. So a great example is when the massage therapist Jessie was in here. She would always stand up, she wants people to come get a massage, so we did a one-to-one. I said, well, what's a good referral for you? Someone who's middle-aged, has a good living, kids are gone. Huh, why is that? Because they have money, they have time, and they want to pamper themselves. So they're coming in on a weekly basis, not a one and done. I was like, interesting, okay. So I never would have known that if I hadn't have asked. And she wouldn't have offered it either. So B&I related. What are your goals for B&I? Some of us are in here to make money, others are in here for the social aspects, some want to make connections. But what are your goals and how can I help you further those goals? How can B&I work better for you? This is something that we don't touch on, but it comes up in one-to-ones when I hear people talking about their problems with B&I. It may be they struggle getting the one-to-ones, they struggle getting the referrals. We've got 25 people in here. Let's use that knowledge and our experience to help them with it. How can I help you achieve your goals? Who has been your best referral source? It may not be who you think it is, and once you start thinking about it, you can find out, that kind of person in that job is really good for me. Let me help you find more. So what kind of leads do you look for? Not referrals, leads. So it kind of furthers that to help them find something else besides just a referral. And then personal. You can always ask about personal because you want to know that person and trust them. Are you married? Kids? Pets? What are your hobbies? This is a good one. What do you do outside of work? This is where you really get to know someone and you might find something that, hey, you both have the same hobby or you both played something in college and now you want to relive those experiences. But what were your hobbies before you had kids? Those of you without kids won't understand this, but where else have you lived? That's a big one. You can share a common interest by where else have you lived and what can you remember about those things. So there's a lot of things you can talk about if you go in prepared. But just have a few questions in mind. If you're like me, it's really hard to sit down and have a one-to-one conversation with somebody you don't know. So I go in with 10 questions in my head that I can always pull something up. So if you do one-to-ones, that'll lead to referrals, and that's going to lead to money. Why? Because they know you, they know your product, they trust you, and they trust your product. So the one-to-one process is all about building trust and commitment. So you have to get to know people, you have to sit down with them, you have to understand them so you can build that trust and commitment. And that leads to referrals and profitability. So the small meetings are important. And getting back to something we talked about a few weeks ago, with each referral, you're giving away a little bit of your reputation. So trust is crucial. So the one-to-one process allows members to deepen the mutual knowledge and develop better relationships with each other, which is what we're all here for. So next week, we're going to talk about some common complaints and problems with one-to-ones and how we can address them. So I've got a small list of common complaints I've gotten, so if you guys have complaints about one-to-ones and why you're not doing them, let me know, and we can bring them up and get 25 people's opinions on how to address it. So shoot me your feedback, I'd love to see it. And what questions do you guys have about getting more out of your one-to-ones? No questions?
Yeah, sorry.
That means you're not inspired. All right.
Awesome, thank you,
Yeah,
Matt.
Matt. Thank you.